On to Sri Lanka now, which is facing its biggest economic crisis since its independence. After months of economic hardship, the crisis has only gone from bad to worse. Power cuts are common, fuel is too expensive, and ration lines are getting longer. Currently, Sri Lanka has deployed the army now. They are posted at hundreds of petrol stations across the country after 3 people dropped dead waiting for fuel in long queues. At least 2 army personnel will be stationed at every fuel pump. The government says it is to stop stockpiling and inefficient distribution.
The need arose to get the military to supervise the distribution of fuel. The military has been deployed to help the public, not to curtail their human rights.
How exactly did things get so bad? It is a combination of several factors. Historically, Lankan governments have been weak when it comes to fiscal management. The president, Gotabaya, was more of the same. His tax cuts were ill-timed, so was his obsession with making Lankan agriculture 100% organic. The final nail in the coffin was the COVID-19 pandemic. Sri Lanka's tourism sector is its main source of earning. It accounts for over 10% of the country's GDP. But the pandemic has heavily impacted the tourism sector. Tourist arrivals have reduced in 2020 due to the restrictions on travel, causing the Sri Lankan economy to shrink by as much as 3.6%. The dwindling foreign reserves putting pressure on the monetary system. The population of around 22 million is heavily reliant on imports. Most food products and essentials are imported from neighboring countries, including India. So for importing food and other commodities, Sri Lanka needs foreign currency reserves to pay for them. Currently, the foreign reserves are depleting at an alarming rate. The inflow is a trickle as compared to the outflow of cash. In the last 2 years, Sri Lanka's foreign reserves have fallen by 70%. This has led to the shuttering of 3 embassies as well around the world. Colombo has now decided to shut down embassies in Baghdad and Oslo. The Consul General's offices in Sydney also expected to shut down. However, the mission's work will resume considering the economic situation after a year. In the country, authorities have postponed exams for nearly 3 million students because of the shortage of paper and ink. Currently, Sri Lanka is focusing on debt restructuring to fight this crisis. This comes ahead of the International Monetary Fund talks in Washington in April. Until now, they had resisted reaching out to the IMF. They preferred bilateral helplines, a $1.5 billion currency swap with China, and a $1 billion credit line from India. That's because Gotabaya believes that the IMF will undermine Sri Lanka's sovereignty. But that has never stopped Colombo before. In the last 56 years, they have sought IMF relief 16 times. That's second only to Pakistan. With us on the broadcast this minute is Shanaken Rasamanikam, who is a member of the Sri Lankan Parliament. Thanks very much for being here with us. If you can help us better understand the situation on the ground. We've been seeing those visuals of long queues of people on the ground, people collapsing, waiting for hours to purchase fuel, and the protests on the ground as well against the administration.
In fact, we have even come to a point where we have had 3 deaths because of the long queues of dehydration and with conflicts where people have been assaulted and murdered because of these queues. But coming down to the bottom line is that this crisis, this economic crisis, is a man-made crisis. This crisis is not due to any other reason, but it's due to the poor mismanagement of the Sri Lankan economy and our foreign reserves and our debt payment. So right now, there are queues for everything, all the essential items, maybe gas, fuel, even milk powder in the past and in the future as we could expect. But this all comes down due to the lack of foreign currency, and our foreign reserves have so depleted that the government of Sri Lanka is unable to provide the citizens the most basic essential items on time. So it is quite alarming, and I think the STF and the military has been called in to control the crowds. But as it has been, this government's policy has been to militarize the civil services, and militarization is a key aspect of the Gotabaya Rajapaksa government. So this is no surprise. But however, I think people are losing confidence. People are getting really frustrated. I really hope that the government of Sri Lanka does the right thing, even though it's way too late. Does the right thing, because we didn't let the dollar float. The government artificially held the dollar at 200 rupees per USD, and within a week now it has gone up to almost 300 rupees per USD in the black market. So unless the government does the right thing right now, I think this crisis could get a lot worse than it is, and it could even lead up to a civil unrest in the country, and that's an alarming. That's an alarming fact.
For the longest time, experts have advised the government should be seeking help from the IMF, but the government has only now changed its mind. Crucial time has been lost. The country sought help from the IMF 16 times earlier. What do you make of the government's reasoning for the delay this time around in seeking assistance, saying that the conditions could be detrimental to the country's interests?
I think it's just pure arrogance to start with, and stubbornness, and the fact that they seem to think that they know everything. And if you look at the CVs, the resumes of the president and the finance minister, they're not much to say about how their economic expertise in the CVs. They have worked in different countries in doing odd jobs, nothing to do with economy. So at least they should have listened to the economic experts. And the central bank governor keeps printing money. And I think it's just pure arrogance that has led this country to this situation. But one more thing that I personally feel is that I feel that if there is a proper audit done on Sri Lanka, especially the defense ministry in Sri Lanka, defense ministry has the largest amount of budgetary allocations in the country. So, and even as parliamentarians, when we ask for information pertaining to expenditure details of the defense ministry, we are told that we can't have that because that is a threat to the national security. And there is so many allegations of corruption there. So if the IMF comes in, I'm very much sure that they might do a comprehensive audit on most of the ministries. And maybe the government is afraid of large-scale corruptions being exposed. I don't know. I mean, it's anybody's guess, because I mean, any sane person would have sought the assistance of the IMF than put 21 million citizens of this country, under so much stress and so much discomfort, and there seems to be absolutely no concern for the welfare of the citizens' lives in this country. So, I mean, apart from arrogance and stubbornness, and also the fear of comprehensive audits that may happen, where large-scale corruptions of the government could come out, it beats me to understand why the government has taken so long to go to the IMF. It also seems like there is a lot of disharmony amongst the Rajapaksa brothers as well, even though the brother is the prime minister, younger brother is president, the other younger brother is the finance minister. There seems to be, it's widely speculated that there's a lot of disharmony amongst the family. So, I mean, one family we can't allow one family to ruin our country and the future of 21 million people. So I really hope that the government of Sri Lanka does the right thing and look after the interests of the citizens of Sri Lanka before they worry about their personal family feuds.
Shanikar Rawasinkam, thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast with those perspectives. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.